Bullet Heart. Apparently this game is the tabletop translation of a style of video games that appears to be very successful, and I've never played them. I don't really know what they are. I would not have recognized this as a tabletop version of a video game unless the rulebook had told me so. And I'm not trying to be a fake snob. I'm just a true ignorant. That's all that there is. But the game seemed to be interesting, seemed to have a cool puzzle element. It can be played solo, which was very attractive to me in these days of quarantine when I can only play with my daughters or by myself. It features a lot of strong female characters, and that to me is always a plus. I always like that. So I wanted to try it, and I did. So the game also comes with several modes. You can play in different ways, and yes, you can play solitaire, or the main mode really is free-for-all, which is every player controls a heroine, one of the ones that you see here, and they just attack each other. You will have a board, and there will be tokens that represent bullets. You're trying to form specific patterns to clear the bullets from your board. In so doing, you send them to the board of the opponent, and when the opponent has too many bullet tokens on their board, it's bad for them. This is the general idea. So we have a lot of different heroines. Here's Adelaide Beckenbauer, possibly my favorite ones, but just many different ones. Each heroine has a main card, such as this one, showing you the illustration, the name, how many life points the heroine has. When you put a token on one of these heart spaces, it's bad, and when they're all covered, the heroine is gone out of the game. Again, usually in free-for-all, last heroine standing wins the game. So you have one main card, such as that one, and then another card showing you a track where you keep track of the action points that the heroine has, which you will use during your turn, and then each character also has a number of unique abilities. Again, they really are different from one another. So yeah, these two, and then each character also has a grid such as this one. It is called the site, and these are all the same. Each one has the same. So you create your character by putting together those two unique boards and by shuffling together the cards of a unique deck called Pattern Deck. And again, each character has a unique one. And these characters do play very differently from one another. From Marielle Martin, who has an extra token representing herself, and also she can push bullets around easily. We have Akagi, who is vaguely psychotic looking baseball enthusiast who is able to bounce bullets away from herself and has some defensive abilities which she needs because she doesn't have a lot of life there. From Lin Lin Xiao, who does things with numbers, activates abilities by using numbers. Senka Kazun, who is a sniper, she has some extra tokens representing crosshairs. Pion Pion, she's shooting things. So, very different abilities. Sphere, it's kind of like the tank. Very different abilities, very different styles of gameplay. You have also this glorious, ginormous bag of wooden tokens that have different colors, but also different symbols for the colorblind. As you can see, each is associated with a different explosion, flame symbol, and such. With numbers from 1 to 4, you'll see why this is important. And some of these tokens also have stars on them. And I'll show you one if I can find one, like so. And these are important because, again, the idea is that during the game you will place these tokens on your personal central board, the site, and then you will match patterns to remove them, to clear them. And when you clear a token with a star, you get to use one of your star abilities indicated here on your unique ability board. So there's this ginormous, super heavy bag there, and each player also have a personal bag called the Current, which is a weird name. It simply indicates the tokens that you have to deal with, that you will have in the current round. There will be a number of tokens, the bullets that you receive by default every turn. Turn 1 is 4, and then the intensity increases. So each turn you will receive the default number indicated on the intensity track, plus whatever bullets the player sitting to your right has cleared from their board. And every time that that player clears a bullet from their board, they place it here in your incoming area. And every time that you clear a bullet from your board, you put it in the incoming area of the player to your left. So again, each turn when you're replenishing your bag, you get the incoming bullets plus the intensity, and you fill your bag. So everybody has their bag, and now the turn is about to start. Everybody plays at the same time. You can play with a timer or for a more relaxed experience, or if you're playing with young players like I did, playing with my daughters, then no timer whatsoever. You will also actually reveal a number of these pattern cards. Your hand is usually 3, but the situations and abilities may change that. And so, again, suppose I'll put them here for now. Suppose that this is my hand right now. These are the patterns they have available. So during your turn, you can perform actions in different orders. You can perform an action, then another, go back to the previous one, take it 5 times, then perform something else, and so on and so forth. Completely flexible. A very common action that you will take, and you will have to take, is to place these darn bullets. You do have to place bullets from your bag. When you draw a bullet, it goes, unless there are abilities that break the rule, but that will apply to almost every rule. Almost every rule has an ability that breaks it. Usually, when you draw a bullet, it goes in the corresponding column, corresponding to the color or symbol, whichever you use to identify. Starting from the top, you count a number of empty spaces equal to the number there, 1, 2, and you place it right there. And then decide that my next action, I'm gonna draw more bullets. 1 pink, and it goes there. Oh, 2. 1, 2. I skip spaces that already have bullets. And then here I got a blue 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a red 2. And a yellow 2. And a yellow 1. So far, so good. There may be a case where you won't be able to place new bullets. Suppose, for example, that right now I was gonna, well, first I drew, say, a green 3. 1, 2, 3. See, not only 1, 2, 3 spaces available in green. So if I draw, say, a green 1, it's fine, that's fine. But I only have 2 available. That means if I draw a token with a high number in a column that already has a lot, then I won't be able to place it. See here, 1, 2, I'm not able to count down 4 empty spaces. It goes here, and when a token cannot be placed, that is, it falls in the bottom column, zoom, it immediately bounces here and covers one of the spaces that you have there. And then maybe get that one, or this one, 1 and 2, and so on and so forth. So you will be drawing a lot, but you also want to take breaks, especially when you fear that a column is getting a little too loaded. Another thing that you want to do is to spend your action points to perform actions, to perform the actions indicated here. And again, each player has a different pool of abilities, and that really does change things. Suppose, for example, I decide to use that ability there. For 1 action point, boop, I can move a bullet left, right, or down 1 space. And I decide, for example, to do that. Will I do that? Oh yeah, I totally do that. And then I spend another action point to do that again, and then another action point. Still using the same abilities. You can see I can use them any way I wanna. And that one again, like that. I probably made a mistake somewhere, but I'm trying to explain the game. So what happens here is, as I'm moving these things around, say I took a break, and then now I feel more comfortable, I decide to draw, and so actually now I do draw a 4 green, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I can place, hooray. But what I'm trying to do when I'm not drawing bullets and adding them, when I'm not performing actions, is to match my patterns. Matching patterns does not cost action points. I simply demonstrate that I'm able to match the pattern. And some can look a little cryptic, but they simply mean if you see a token of a color, it has to be of that color. If you see a token with a number, it has to be that number. When you see only a white outline, ignore what you see in there. Just the white outline of a token, it means any token. When you see this dotted thing, it means empty space. That means to fulfill this pattern, I need to have a yellow token, diagonal with any one other token, which is top left compared to it, and it's empty on top. Oh look, I got that. I got exactly that situation there. These explosions here means these are the bullets that you clear when you complete that pattern. You do not need necessarily to have anything in there, which means if I match the pattern now, and I can, yellow, any other token, empty there, I can clear any bullet in those 3 positions. And so I remove those 3 and I put them on the incoming area of the next player. But again, I don't have, these are the explosions are rewards, so to speak. They're not requirements. If there's a situation, I could still match this pattern here, but I would only be clearing these 2 and sending only these 2. And that's why I was using my action points for perform these patterns. Oh, look at this pattern here. I need 2 pink ones, and if I use that pattern, then I would be clearing bullets here. So if I use that pattern right now, which I could, I would only get that one there. So maybe I want to use action points to bring more tokens in that, and then I use this one. And I clear those bullets. When you use a pattern, it is discarded, and you will replenish it at the end of the turn. This is really the general idea. There are also power-ups, which are special abilities. You collect those tiles in between turns, and they allow you to do different things, like win things, clearing bullets, and so on and so forth. But this is the general sense, the general idea. During the main phase of the turn, you will add bullets to your board, spend action points, match patterns with the intention of removing tokens to place them on your opponent's board. They will place them on yours, and you will try to keep your board as clear as possible, their board as cluttered as possible, because again, bullets that cannot be placed become ones eliminate players, and if you're the last player standing in the free-for-all mode in particular, you win the game. Bullet Heart is a very unique game. I enjoyed it and I found it very refreshing, very different from other games that I played. And maybe if you know the original sources, you'll be to be praised quite the other way around because of how well it captures possibly the original sources. But to me, the idea of having all these different characters that are basically solving puzzles, but in such different ways, with such different patterns and abilities, and they really are so completely different. That was a nice change of pace, I would say, from other ways in which, well, I play games in which resolve combat, and then we calculate combat odds and look at a combat table. Here, I'm matching a pattern. Here, boom, is a bunch of bullets coming your way that become a puzzle for you, and so on and so forth. I like that. I like that pace. And I like discovering for different characters, the different ways in which they operate, the strengths that they have, the weaknesses. Oh, this character is so powerful, but she really struggles to move tokens up. Oh, this character has some amazing patterns, but she really struggles to clear the side columns rather than maybe the central ones, and so on and so forth. Oh, I need to do some math with this character. So, very interesting, very fun and unique idea. I like the diversity that the characters have in terms of background, where they come from, the level of ability, even the stories that frankly are unnecessary to play the game. They could have told, oh, this is character B or C2, whatever. But actually that really added, I believe, to the charm of the experience. Again, this is basically an abstract game with a lot of content, a lot of theme that has been basically pasted on, but somehow I guess sometimes there is enough of that that doesn't feel to like pasted on is such a bad idea. It does feel like it enriches the experience. Also, what you saw, what I played is the deluxe version with those wooden tokens. As I understand, there are other versions that have cardboard tokens, and that probably is less enticing. But again, using those wooden tokens really enhance the experience. They're just fun to manipulate and to slide around and to pile up as you move them around the table. Great stuff. Precisely because of that, however, I was a little bit surprised that the boards a little bit thin, especially the board where you actually slide your tokens on felt disappointingly thin, and I was surprised by that because as you slide those tokens, they're almost heavier than the board itself, and so that alone can move around. It's very easy to incidentally bump it, and so that just reduces the enjoyment as you have to correct that. And also those are the two boards, just very thin, and I was surprised by that. Speaking of production and components in general, I was also not particularly impressed by the rulebook. The game is pretty simple, but it feels like the information is scattered around a little too much. At the end, there were still some key points after the first time that I started messing around and tried to actually play the game. A couple of points that felt a bit obscure, and when do I really do that? When do I transition to this? When is one phase over and another one starts? There were some fairly major concepts that were not obvious at all. Some of the abilities of the characters also were not obvious by just that description that was there. Then there was a nice biography, but it wasn't necessarily a section that would explain in more detail how each character worked, with examples and visual aids like that. So that's a minor thing. But again, the game is put down those bullets, alternating with the action points that you spend to manipulate your board and try to fulfill the conditions of the patterns. So the game is overall pretty simple. If you mess up a bit, that's okay. You'll figure it out as it goes. So it's a really strong game, especially from the point of view of gameplay, with the plus of good wooden tokens and the minuses of some, secondary weaknesses when it comes to the production. But again, where it shines is in this gameplay that gives you so many different decisions, to the point that may feel overwhelming at the beginning. There may be a little bit of a learning curve, but not too bad. I would say the learning curve is how to play each character efficiently, which is again fun because it's fun to, when something clicks, that's how I do that thing. But again, the fluidity of the situation of drawing those bullets, spending those action points, matching those patterns, using star abilities to trigger other things, the fluid flow that you have there, to me, that is really what the game is about. That's really where it's at, where the point of the experience is. I prefer, because of this, to play without the timer because I really want to enjoy that element, but it depends, of course, on your group. That means you need to rely on yourself and your friends not to abuse the possibility of playing without the timer, and so so that you avoid creating downtime. With the timer, I just don't enjoy it too much, and I feel there is just too much randomness. Ultimately, if I cannot calculate, if I cannot make my own little plans, then it feels like it's random, and then I think that de-evaluates strategy and weakens the experience. But in general, Bullet Heart is a really pretty looking game with some really interesting ideas in game design. The elements of gameplay, they feel very different from one another, but they congeal quite effectively. That they create a very cohesive, very immersive experience in which you're there always doing something and something else is happening. And so it's a kind of experience that really draws you in, that always gives you something to think about, something to consider, and so many options, so many replay value, that all of these elements really make for a really strong package.